it's not. Now it's on.
Happy Halloween, beloved listeners. Eat my salad, Halloween.
Oh, no one's gonna understand at all.
Like, who isn't?
You will be the only human at the concert unless Dr. K goes. That.
Wait, does Dr. K? I didn't realize Dr. K.
You asked him literally like 2 semesters ago in forum, and he said, "Oh yeah, I liked that doctor," and then you were just shocked that he watched Doctor Who.
I guess
you don't
I
pay
forgot.
attention. You don't have a good memory. You know what you should do? You should do what my grandpa started doing when he had Alzheimer's. Every time he had a thought, he was told to text it to him. Because that way, you get the thought as you get it, as you're texting it, and as you're receiving it. So 3 times more likely thing.
I just write things down. I have a little journal I write down.
Yeah, but you don't remember the day-to-day stuff.
I remember most. I think that of all the things to get.
Well, no, that is, yeah.
A Doctor Who fan is not. I mean,
I would figure that'd be a high priority for you.
It's important to me, but it is a long time ago, and we have a lot of other things to worry about. That we are about to tell you about this.
Really?
So first,
subtitle.
So for Halloween.
Well, I mean, hang on.
So first up on the docket for the day is some sobering news. John Williams. Although yes, it did. John Williams was hospitalized like right after our last show. He out that John illness. He had had to miss one of his actually conducting one of his and hospital for a few days. But is on the med now and on the quick road to recovery. So get well soon, John Williams. We wish you the best. Love you, John Williams. Keep thoughts and prayers, and yeah, he health. Next on our list, Cassie Kenoshi, based in London, was just named the Cameron Mackintosh resident composer. This is a new residency established in Scotland. She will be in residence at the Dundee Rep Theatre in Scotland and is currently on a musical that's based on Samuel R. Delaney's sci-fi novel Nova. Oh look, it's Master Chief. Hi, Master Chief.
I was gonna wear the Green Arrow thing, but I couldn't find the Domino mask, so it just wouldn't look.
Have you been doing a lot of, boom boom lately?
Oh yeah.
Or pew? I guess it's pew. All right. No, they're regular guns in here. They're not laser guns. They're just regular guns.
There are
in
laser
Halo,
guns.
right? There's regular guns and laser guns.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the best.
Even better. Even better.
Master Chief approves this message.
So, anyway, with my new co-host Master Chief, continue on our merry way. This isn't necessarily composition related, but it's using. So violinist Hilary Hahn, who's one of the world's best violinists and is known for playing a lot of new recently played what was actually her first ever public solo recital. She's typically known for playing concertos. She's played like the Egdon one, Aragon concertos. But she played a solo recital of Bach's music in New York.
Master Chief.
Yes. But this recital had an interesting encore. Hilary Hahn ended her recital with the famous Chaconne from Bach's Violin Partita No. 2, then came out for her encore and played it again.
Master Chief does not approve that.
I just saw this in the write-up at the New York Times. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Got to put my hair back before.
It's somewhat uncomfortable. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if this had been at an orchestra concert and she in like the I don't know, the Beethoven violin something, and then just came out and played it.
They like the fourth movement of it again, or third movement of it again, or something.
Yeah.
Why did I say fourth? I meant. But yeah, that's honestly just like derp. Though this is actually kind of funny. That kind of reminds me of another story. So my sister has actually been a very talented vocalist in the past. Yeah. And she still sings very wonderfully. Unfortunately, right now she's kind of run away from classical music just for life issues. But in her height and near the end of high school, beginning of college, she was singing at a contest. I want to say it was the end of her high school, and there were 4 verses to the song. It's a really famous one too. You might have heard it. It's the one that goes like da 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 da. It's like a really famous
not
Mozart
your
piece.
rendition, but maybe
no, like you've probably heard it. Most people who have done vocal music, particularly in the soprano world, have heard this piece before, even based on that melody. Like you would have recognized it if you had heard it. Anyways, and she actually, instead of just singing through the verses, she just kind of like skipped one of the verses and did the chorus twice. And it was really funny because the pianist, without skipping a beat, just like threw like 3 pages forward and kept playing. And it's just like, dude, you earned your pay. And even after, she's like, you kept up with me. Like, but one of my favorite stories of that ever, I think.
What makes this Hilary Hahn thing even funnier is that the Chaconne, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, this is like an 18-minute piece of music.
Yeah.
So the encore is 18 minutes of the same thing. So that was I have to applaud the gutsiness of that choice. I don't know if I would have appreciated it if I had been an audience.
It's funny reading about it afterwards.
It's funny,
yeah.
Anyway, can on.
Oh yeah,
Zach,
so
would you like to talk
this is
about
something I've been sitting on for a while. I've kind of just been waiting for it to fix itself, but it hasn't. So, a lot of us have seen advertisements for the $99 orchestra. I've had it. You've had it.
I actually haven't.
You've never seen some? Okay.
I may have, but I'm not planning.
You probably have, because I swear I've
probably
mentioned
have. It sounded familiar when I saw you would include it in here.
But anyway, so in general, I mean, you're paying $99 for an orchestra. What can you really get? Well, first of all, that $99 is for a 7-minute time slot.
Yeah. If you want any more than 7 minutes, it quickly balloons to like several hundred.
It's actually a good deal. $300 for 30 minutes. That's technically a bargain, but at least compared to those prices. But let's just run some numbers here, shall we? So let's go off that $300 for 30-minute thing. So that's $600 over the course of an hour. I happen to know that it is a 14-piece string section.
Well, it's 30 musicians.
No?
Yeah.
But just on the string musicians. If you're only getting string musicians for that, you're basically paying $40 an hour. Not including conductor.
Which
that's union pay, but the problem is if you use anything more than string. Because if you use the full 30, cut that in half.
Right, they're getting paid $20 an hour, which is ridiculous.
Now, it gets even more interesting. Because, I mean, you could easily balloon that to $700 or $750 per hour that you're paying. If you do all 7-minute chunks, which that's their most popular option. The issue is, it's not just that. I mean, that's a really ridiculous, because session pay is normally, you get paid more intense. I've done it before. Basically, whereas I might normally charge, like, here in Oklahoma, $25 to $30 for a professional engagement on a per-hour basis isn't unheard of. But if it was a session, that easily adds 50% to your price. Right. And $40 is kind of the national average. Now, they claim to have the LA Phil. They're worth more than that. They're worth more than the $40. Normally, without session work. They're normally worth, in general, I'd say 50, maybe 55. And their sessions should be worth 70, 75 an hour. I've got a couple friends out there right now, and that's about right. 70, 75 an hour, unless it's just a section player. If it's just the section players, you pay them less. It's a weird thing out there. But moving on from that, you also have, turns out that that's a lie. You're not getting the LA Phil or the London Strings.
No,
or the Chicago Brass.
Not unless you play specifically for the London Strings, which is
where you normally get this is it's not even in Nashville, but somewhere in Tennessee. I don't remember where most of these take place, and yeah, you kind of get what you pay for. You get some local musicians from Eastern Tennessee, and for those of us that don't know, Eastern Tennessee is not exactly robust in musicians. At least not classical music. They actually have a very rich folk and blues. But as far as our tradition goes, not so much. Now, the plot thickens even further because even after you pay for this orchestra and get your recording, which isn't that good, sometimes you don't even get your recording. Oh, well, we had to put off your session till next time. That 3 months. So if you paid $300 for session work, expecting to have something for, let's say, a March deadline,
right?
And you give them for their January thing, so that you can have time to touch it up. Even if they get it to you like the week of your deadline, you've only got a week at that point. Do it. To edit things, to see if it's worthwhile, all that stuff. That's ridiculous. Like, oh my goodness, like, even for the limited amount of exposure I've had to that area of doing, like, film, games, and all that stuff, no. That's not nearly enough time. Because you have to compile so much crap. Like, you'd have to not sleep for that whole week. And keep in mind, I'm being generous here. I've read several accounts where it either is far after their assigned date that they need it by, or they only have a day to do massive edits. That's horrible. Like, that's absolutely horrible. Because plus, if anyone's tried to sync music to video games or to films, it's really, really hard. I've only done it twice. It's miserable.
And I mean, this isn't even stuff. I mean, you've done research on this, but even if you just go to their website, it becomes painfully obvious if you do any more deep digging.
I put a little bit on here.
Yeah, like, most of this. I mean, it says $99 orchestra. It's like, great. Well, that's 7 minutes. How much music can you record in 7 minutes?
30 seconds.
Well, yeah. Now on the website it says a minute to a minute and a half, which is
realistically 30 seconds. Now, if it's like the OU orchestra, I would trust them with a minute and a half of music. 7 minutes. I would totally trust them with that.
I mean, at our
because we're good sight readers here at this university,
and it depends on how difficult your music is. But I mean, we do for our orchestration readings here, the advanced orc class. We do 15-minute sessions with the orchestra for 3 minutes of music. So that's a minute every minute of music.
That actually fluctuates. Sometimes it's as much as 30. It depends how many.
Well, it depends how many
take part in the project.
We've done it in 15, and as long as you're not doing anything ridiculous, you're not doing anything
like my
really
thesis.
hard, right? Then it's fine. Yeah, we're talking about an orchestra at a major university as opposed to
whoever happens to be around.
From
now, they are professionals.
Yeah.
Like that part, I have done a little bit of research. I know a few of the names that are involved. They are actually professionals. But professional is a wide net. Right. And also, this is the big thing. The recording sessions last from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. A lot of playing.
Yeah, it's 8 hours. Yeah.
That's a lot of playing. Now, they do try to, quote, intelligently design the sessions to where, the brass won't play too pro if possible, the strings won't play too intense pieces, and like things like that. They try. Now, the issue is, it doesn't matter at that point, because even if you're not playing the whole time, you're there since 10 a.m. If your slot is 5:30, you're doomed.
Yeah.
You are completely doomed. Like, there is no salvaging what little you might have gotten.
Anybody listening to us who has ever tried to play your instrument for 8 hours, you know how it is.
Trust me, I used to do it every day in undergrad.
Not fun. But yeah, I mean,
I did run that number actually. 8 hours is actually not far off. 7 hours is technically why.
Well, yeah, because you have days where you're in like 5 ensembles, and then you have to practice.
Not to mention I was still doing stuff with like Selka and Amanda and them and playing downtown every weekend for most of it, and pep band. So I was, and keep in mind I did all this while I was a composer. But, that's why I say I have a degree in double bass, because I legitimately have a degree in double bass. I earned it. I have played so much at least a competent level. I'd say I'm like a B level soloist. I'm an A level ensemble member, if that makes sense. Either way, so I've done that, and dude, that's a lot. That is so much playing. 8 hours. I'm sorry, anyone that is after the 2 p.m. slot, your piece is gonna sound like poo. And that's if it was going to sound good in the first place, which it might not.
Especially from wind and brass players who it takes a lot of energy. It's not like, I mean, playing a guitar, for me, playing a guitar takes energy, but I can play for several hours and be okay. Whereas if I'm singing,
try holding your bow like this.
Yeah, or if you're doing something more strenuous like holding a violin or having to breath to make it gets even harder. So, generally speaking, be wary of this. Be wary of anything
that looks too good to be true in this.
Anything that looks too good to be true, and honestly, anything you have to pay for. If you're going to pay is for a competition or session, make sure it's legit.
I'm still a proponent of not paying contests. I just.
Yeah. But if you are going to, and I can see there if it's a small fee and it's something that looks but make sure it's legit. I've seen things on Composer's site. There was something I saw a couple weeks ago that I don't remember.
I saw something that was like $80 for submitting, and it was like for flute and harp or something, and I'm like,
but I mean, I saw something that was like for a recording session, and it was like a non-profit. They're claiming to be a non-profit that just wants to get out there.
Was it that thing that you had to pay your CD fee even if you didn't end up getting on the CD?
It's for strings. I don't remember, but it was like
was something like that.
It was like $20, and I'm like, that's not unreasonable for a non-profit to request as fee to help the thing going. But and there's a but. I went to this website, and the organization is completely untested. They've done absolutely nothing. They're completely new. So, I don't remember, it was like the String Project or something. But I hope they're legit, because it could be a good opportunity. But, for our beloved viewers, as the doctor would say, do the smart thing, and let someone else try first.
Anyways, and then finally the most heartbreaking part, most of the recordings are useless. I've listened to SoundCloud like representations like A and B style, like MIDI versus thing, and dude, go with the MIDI. MIDI's good enough these days. A $99 orchestra.
Or
honestly, in general, I would say it is, if you plan on submitting more than 2 orchestral works in your life, or if you plan on composing anything orchestral, worth it to spend $600 on a half-decent sound set. Like, honestly, you might as well, because guess what? At that point, you pay for 2 or 3 recording sessions. You have a quality that these days is, 80% there, but that last 20% is really nuanced and important to people that listen. But in general, if you're a student submitting places, don't fall for this stuff. It's a lot better to do something like Composer Cloud, where you rent the stuff for basically $10 a month.
That's even cheaper.
Yeah, and that's even cheaper. But for me, it makes I'm looking into buying those iconic
Alicon.
Yeah,
or what? Yeah.
I'm looking into doing those as soon as you know what I'm talking about. But I'm planning on doing that as soon as it's available for Dorico, because I haven't done a Dorico map yet, and I don't have 2 weeks of my life to dedicate to making an expression map for it. So
wait, I think that's
I got better things to do. I'm gonna let someone else do it, and then I'll buy it. But the good news is they're planning on making it a standard feature within Dorico at some point in the future. I'm expecting sometime during version 2. Anyways, moving on. Did you read this next one?
No,
This
because
is
you
just
uploaded-
dorky.
I read 2 of them because you uploaded them the morning of.
I know. I was really bad. I actually spent most of last night working out logistics for. It was kind of ridiculous.
Well, yeah, we've got a
Like-
we don't have this on the sheet, but just local news. We have a the Century Improv Ensemble.
This show's been a lot of work, more than usual, because I've had to first of all coordinate for a new venue that no
Right.
one in the School of Music has used. Which I'm a pioneer of that. Yay, someone's got to do it. Maybe I'm the unintelligent one for trying it first. So we're doing it in a new place. We're doing it as a public event, which basically just, yay, public event type thing. And then the other thing that's been pretty stressful is just the fact that it's another concert that I have to administer, and
Well, yeah.
it's a pain. Like, I love hosting concerts. Like, Ashley's even joked that I'm very much a showman at heart, but part of me
Wouldn't you
also
say
wants
that
a
you're
break.
the greatest showman.
Go home. You're fired for that joke. No, but I mean, I like to think that I'm a good showman too, and I do enjoy it, but it's just I kind of want a break from it, but I'm not getting a break until like December
Right.
because I've got to help with 2 Inner Soundscape shows, my own concert, the other concert for NCIE. I'm probably gonna have to help. Actually, I am helping with the New Century regular improv a lot because I'm pretty much just taking over NC at this point because Dr. Lamb is trying. I'm just like, fine, I'll do it because I want my people to sound good. By the way, spoiler alert, what are we working on next? But yeah, so it's just I kind of want to break, but I do also enjoy it. So I'm really enjoying my time, but it's just I think there's just like one too many new things.
That
at
sounds like
once.
my entire life and all of my endeavors. I say I like him. And then it's like, I just want a break.
No, I never really want a break from composing. I force myself to take a break though for the first half of most summers. This past summer I did it in the back half though, and I think that's mostly because I just need a break from school in general. And if I start composing, I'm gonna start thinking of, oh well, that book on my shelf that I've been meaning to read, and so
I think for me, it's not as much a break from composing as a break from having to have something done by a specific. Which deadlines are very important.
I'm kind of in that. I mean, I've been in that state for a while, but I'm
Yeah.
100% in that state right now. And even alongside my dissertation, I've already finished 1 or 2 pieces. I mean, I'm actually really relaxed in general.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm really uppity about is this Halloween show, but it's gonna be fine. It's actually gonna be a really fun show. In fact, we're doing one of our pieces that was submitted to us too. The Big Bang piece.
Big Bang piece.
Yeah, and that's a really fun piece. It's deceptively simple. I think is a good way to put it. I know. I'm trying to keep things rolling. But yeah, so it's a good, fun, deceptively simple piece. We'll be streaming it on my personal YouTube page, because I tried to get a composition YouTube page going, but that also got. Anyways, moving on. So this is just kind of a funny little thing. 7 spooky copyright and plagiarism stories for Halloween. I'm not going to go into details on any of them, but just interesting anecdotes from each of them. So, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Basically, most people know this story. Basically, just copyrights weren't filed.
It's basically the plays copyrighted by
Yeah.
somebody else.
It's silly, and basically because of that, none of the paperwork is filed right. Everyone knows that, but it gets more interesting as it goes. Repo, the plagiarism opera. So Repo, the genetic opera, which you finally got to enjoy.
I've
experienced.
It's an interesting movie.
Yeah. Basically, so this is the interesting bit. A quick investigation shows that 2 works are independent creations with similar themes. Simply put, it was impossible for anyone to have plagiarized anyone else. Furthermore, both films would have ended up being very different movies, unified by only overlapping themes and simply poor box office performance. Now, what this comes with, this is the kicker. Repo Man Repo Men is the thing that it's in kind of a contest with. Basically, there's themes from it that are similar. The story is nearly the same.
Yeah.
And two of the main soundtrack is eerily similar. So it's literally one of those things that it's so close, it's impossible not to have been a thing. But Repo the Genetic Opera ended up on top.
Well, and the crazy thing about it is that their movies really did have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
You know, and
like this is, and that's kind of what makes it incredible.
Yeah.
Is most of the time it's like, okay, one of them has to have been influenced, but there's no evidence of any crossing of the streams. The only potential crossing of the streams would be like if they both had a buddy named Mark that fed them ideas, and unless we find out about some buddy named Mark that fed them ideas, it's just incredible that this is a thing. So, anyways, I just thought, isn't that pretty interesting? I thought I think it is. So this one's not as interesting because basically just there's a horror film based on stories by H.P. Lovecraft that essentially just lots of plagiarism issues throughout the entire production, including the music. So Brains, a story of missed attribution. So basically, Cartoon Network tapped a young composer, a goth musician, to do the music for a show, Grim and Evil, which, as many know, we got a pilot for that in the early 2000s, and that ended up being split into two shows, Evil Con Carne, which did not do well, and then The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which went on for years.
Yeah.
I think it went on for like 5-6 seasons. It was a pretty popular show in its day. And basically, whereas this young composer thought it was his big break, it turns out that they slightly tweaked his music video and changed the title and did not give him any credit. Yeah. I think it's both horrifying but there is kind of a tale of warning here. He never got the attribution for the work he needed. So basically, he had no footprint where the work had been. And that's why it's important, and it's why I'm very adamant of telling people, save all your versions. Make sure you have the first version of the first file you made of a piece. And save that. Because, yes, you can tweak metadata, but still, right now, today, might change tomorrow, in the court of law, if you have the earliest metadata trail, you win. Hands down. Like, that is pretty much how it rolls. So please, 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 save your file first, and then build off of that. That is so important. Always make different versions. Never have the same one. Even if it's just a PDF. That is normally enough. Anyways, I thought you'd appreciate this one.
The Shape of Water is a great movie. I mean, yeah, I had heard about this, that it
This is the first I'd heard of it.
Accused of plagiarizing a student film called The Space Between Us, and this is another one like Repo and Repo Men where
except this one's potentially more legitimate because it does play on that classic thing of a more professional human building upon or even outright stealing the work of a lesser human, in this case a student, and just kind of profiting off their
but I mean
ideas.
from what I've read about this and what the article that
from
here's that it's impossible that
it is. I'm just saying it's more viable is all.
Yeah. So
yeah, I just thought that was interesting, especially since you had, it's like one of your favorite things.
Good movie.
So creating fate. This one's not interesting, but this one is public domain horror movies. So basically, all this means is there's a lot of like B and C list horror movies that never got full right things, such as art assets. So yeah, if you like any of these cult classics,
Nosferatu is one of them.
Yeah, like Night of the Living Dead,
Christopher Lee's Dracula.
Yeah, just a lot of these kind of cult classics that only like 10 humans in the entire world actually enjoy, just are basically completely illegitimate because they didn't pay people. And I think that's just interesting because it does kind of fall into that trope, which these days we're kind of moving away from it, but in the early days how it's like, oh, the music's not, or oh, the costumes aren't important. Like, and it just kind of plays into that. So I just think that's interesting, and I don't know, that was sent to me actually by ASCAP. So I thought it was an interesting bit, just, you know, some plagiarism tales. This is an interesting one. You want to read this?
Yeah, I've looked into this. ASCAP has a new benefit, which is essentially that analyzes and hit songs from top 100 over the past 50, 70 years, something like that. The essentially ASCAP members can have 3 months of free access to this. At that point, pay for it about I guess that 3 months would be $100
roughly.
For
students, a little less.
But it's a database. It has information on songwriting trends, both lyrically and musically. What lyrical themes, ideas became most popular during times. You can search writing techniques. You search all kinds of different things that have been analyzed and quantized, so that we can look at statistics about what is popular and what is popular song composition.
Right.
So I think,
importantly, I think it's important to ask: is this to us, like to me and you?
I'm not gonna, because I can go analyze popular songs myself.
Well, I know, but wouldn't it? But I think the real. I think the real thing here is the quarterly trend reports.
Right.
Like, honestly, that to me is almost worth using my 3 months.
If I think this could be very useful, not just for songwriting as a way of things that have happened in the, also for statistics. And I was actually not aware that existed.
I was aware it existed. I just didn't know where it was. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I think for me as a composer, I might see this as useful, in, for me personally, for my personal development, for the production, because that's something I don't know as much of. It's, for me, it's fairly easy enough to pop song.
Yeah, but that's a lot of time though to sit there and find the trends.
But if I wanted to do research into popular music trends in the past 100, I would definitely. I'm just saying, as a composer, I don't really care.
Well, what
the trends are?
What if I told you
as a
my
researcher
reason why I'm so the reason why I'm actually considering getting this is there's a reason why people enjoy pop music. There's several reasons, but there's also a lot of not so obvious reasons. I'd be curious that I could just see what the most popular like trends were in the music and figure out, because sometimes it is as simple as, hey, all the top 100 rock tunes for these 3 years in a row had a bass line that was only there for the back half of the piece or something like that. And at that point, it's like, that's thing. Because, I mean, it's not just by chance that happened. There's normally a reason, because, the majority of humans will flock to a piece of music that is good music to them. And whatever, is defined as good music by them, it changes year to year, month, even day to day. But it is interesting because a lot of people have talked about, kind of sharing between the genres and, like, what we can learn from pop, what pop can learn from us.
Right.
I think we could learn something from pop using this, because we can sit there and find out and be like, maybe I should hold back those low brass until halfway through, just based on my earlier example. So, I mean, with that thought process, I mean, is that potentially a more useful product to you?
Not to me. Like I said, from a standpoint of intellectual curiosity. From a standpoint as a composer, not really, because, number one, I don't care about accessibility.
Well, no, I'm talking like if you are asked to write an accessible piece.
But I feel that I can write an accessible. I mean.
But what if you just? But it's kind of like, what if you just knew what that magic ingredient was, and it was something that you had considered? Because like oftentimes when we're composing, we kind of reach those forks in the road. Like, man, I can either use the low brass early, or I can give it to the winds and then hold the low brass back. And both of which are viable compositional ideas. You like them both, and sometimes it literally comes down to a coin flip or something similar. I know I've done it before. I mean, wouldn't it be nice just having that data there, and then you can sit there and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna follow that trend and see where it goes.
No, not for me. I not that I don't think it's an craft. Yeah, writing music is more than just doing whatever you. There are things to learn, but for me, I learned those things from popular, my own personal study, and for me, I don't think statistical of popular is going to do a lot for me as a composer. Like I said, from an intellectual curiosity standpoint,
That's fair.
This is something I would very much.
I will agree to disagree.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the bulky thing. This is something I've been I've been reading on for the past 4 days, just kind of in my free time, just a little bit here and there. But so ASCAP sent out another email Thursday or Friday, and they were talking about why are people still bothering to steal music. I was curious because the first word I saw in bold was streaming. I'm like, okay, so I'll click this. It's from Global News, and what's interesting is that this. So, first of all, let's put some numbers on the piracy issue. Some numbers that fall in line with other things we've discussed on the show. Music sales have dropped nearly half from their 22 billion height in 2000, largely due to piracy. That falls in line with most of the things I've read. Streaming is cheaper, even freer than ever. Why persist? This is the premise of the entire article. This is kind of the hidden agenda of it. And so I was really curious at this. So I started reading Sunday night-ish on this stuff, and I think it's very interesting the numbers that they give, first of all. So about 38% of online music fans still engage in piracy at some point. I thought it was a little more than that. This is good news to me. Now, there's also worse news later, so I still feel the same. Stream ripping is currently the biggest source.
Which
I think
no
we knew
surprising.
that. Nearly a third of current piracy is by stream ripping. One site that enabled this, YouTubeMP3.org, was shut down in 2016. That was a pretty big deal that happened. Hooray. Small victory for musicians and for all, content creators. And then next, another site that enables us, I will not list them because I do not want to give them business, but they have filed a lawsuit over its right to exist against the Recording Industry of America. Now, this is really interesting to me because, a couple years back, there was actually, no, it was like a year and a half ago, there was a big issue with World of Warcraft, favorite game of mine, with all these private servers. And they use the same excuse sometimes, just, hey, we have a right to exist. Why? We're a legitimate business that operates illegitimately. Pretty much their excuse. Now, Blizzard ended up winning that copyright struggle because they were just like, hey, this is our intellectual property right, and copyright. Wow, I cannot talk. And you cannot use it, etc., etc. Makes sense. Now, they're starting to make this same case against this place that does this illegally. Now, the lawyers that are representing this company are currently moving for dismissal based on jurisdiction because the operator lives in Russia, is a Russian citizen, and to make matters more complicated, the servers aren't in Russia. The servers are actually in Germany. Now, Germany can shut that down. Germany complies with those regulations. Russia does not. But the interesting thing is, since he's a Russian citizen and not a German citizen, that's what's making this tricky on the jurisdiction bit, because the site they can go after, but not the individual. But you can't take down the site unless you go through the individual, is how the internet works. So yeah, that's already getting dicey. So, but at the same time, which shows you basically that they're not too confident they'll win that argument, they're also at the same time moving for the case to be moved from Virginia, where it's currently being tried, to the Central California area. Now, I'm not sure why they would want to move it to Central California. Think of why they'd want.
I don't know enough copyright laws states
to my knowledge, there's not a big enough difference that'd make a difference. But I mean, maybe he's got character with.
I don't know.
I don't know, but this is all set to take ahead in just a week and a half or so. On November 9th is the hearing.
The arguing for the
delay it. That's the only thing I can think of, but even that wouldn't delay it by much.
But I mean, if they're waiting for new thing to come to light or some change to help their case, then that time could be valuable.
Now, they made this move for the case to be moved, interestingly enough, in early October, which is before Music Modernization Act.
Right.
Now, Music Modernization Act actively harms this. But I almost wonder if maybe they did that motion to move, hoping that Music Modernization would. Like, that's the only thing I can think. Right. But I don't know. So that's a possibility. Anyway, so the argument that they're using, also at the same time, keep in mind, they're moving for dismissal, they're moving for it to be moved, and they also already have their argument prepared, so I don't think that they're too confident in it. But their current argument is that YouTube stream rippers are completely legal unless the site operator is distributing copyrighted works to third parties without permission.
Which is a legitimate argument.
Will it
hold up in court?
Except, no, it won't, because a download is a distribution.
If you're now, I think it also, from a legal standpoint, probably depends how they advertise their. If they're saying take this and go download things from YouTube,
go download Taylor Swift's new album.
But if they're just offering it as, technical name here can be used for these uses, and they're not specifically saying go do something illegal with it, then I think they have an argument.
I don't know if they have a great argument, but it's at least an argument.
And I mean, I don't know how strong each are, and it could be a lack of confidence in one of them, or it could be just covering their ass, because that's what you do you have to have all your ducks in a row.
And that's true.
Yeah.
So importantly here, YouTubeMP3.org ended up settling back in 2016. Actually, I think they technically settled in 2016. Yeah. But the 2016 case ended up settling. It'll be interesting to see if this company will do the same.
Probably
yeah, well, because now with the Music Modernization Act, the United States government in particular has teeth. Like, they can now really tear into anyone that is committing online piracy at a large scale. Now, granted, things aren't in place yet to immediately distribute punishment, but honestly, the threat might just be, hey, we have no idea what the end punishment's going to be for you, so you might as well take this while the getting's good.
So that's a case to watch. We do need to move on because
we do.
Time.
So the couple extra little bits, Cyberlockers are 23%, which is basically I make an online cloud essentially, and you can download from.
Yeah.
And now this is the last interesting bits. The justification that people use. People, the first one and the most common is people don't want to pay and are annoyed by the ads prevalent in the free tier. Which honestly, why are they like, it's free, accept an ad? What's wrong with an ad?
I mean, if you're listening to an album, then the ads do.
Then pay for the service.
I personally happy to listen to it.
Yeah.
And just turn the sound off if I don't want to. If it means that I can listen.
Exactly.
But
now moving on, the next one is they want to listen offline, which is typically not available for the free tier. Which I don't see that as a great argument, because in the past you had to buy a CD.
Well, and you can listen listen offline using your phone if you get the Spotify or whatever for
right. But that leads into the next one of people don't want to pay data on their phone to stream it, which I can see that being an argument, but honestly, data is cheaper than ever. It's now basically the same price to have a plan with data versus without, like $5 difference. I'm sorry, but especially in the first world, you know, most of Europe, you know, United States, Canada, all that, you can afford $5 a month. And if you can't, then you have other issues than what you listen to. Like, that's just my personal opinion.
Personally, you know, as far as pirating music goes, if you legitimately are dirt poor and cannot afford to pay for it, I don't really care. But most people listening here can probably afford the $10 a month to pay for Spotify Premium, because it's $10.
I still don't recommend it because they pay their musician. They pay their artists nothing.
That's like going to Chipotle, right? You know,
just go to Chipotle.
One less time.
Or in your case, go get your bagels one. Not going to bagels.
I don't pay for Spotify. I have.
Anyways, then the next, the least common but still prevalent is that some second world and third world, obviously, countries have high numbers of piracy linked to lack of access to credit cards and proper bank transfers. Now, that is potentially the only case in which I think you have a case for pirating. Now, I still don't think it's right, but that's the only one where I will actually see your point of view, if that makes sense. These other ones are literally just, you feel entitled. This is the only one where you have an argument. I don't agree with it, but you have one. So that's an interesting number. And then all of these numbers given today do not include China and India, which would have, quote, severely skewed the results. Honestly, yeah, they probably would have doubled the numbers.
Because of, you know, it's not as widespread access to services and
and piracy there is still a very, like, it's a full-on, like, mafia style business.
And then the other big source of piracy, businesses that use their personal streaming service to play music into their business.
Well, and there's a couple places we frequent that do that.
And I don't know, I don't pay attention to the music when I go to it.
Just next time you walk into an establishment, there's several that we frequent here in Norman. Just take a look at whatever screen they happen to be streaming music from.
I have seen Spotify. So, if you're running a business, guys, just pay for the PRO.
Now,
it's not that expensive if you're already paying business costs.
One thing I will say is you can actually make like $500. If you report any business that is using something illegitimately, including music or any type of software, you can get about $500 payout from the United States government. Just saying. So if you have a business that treated you badly and you happen to know that they are streaming music illegally, you can make them pay more every month. You can earn $500 and you can get them a huge fine slapped as a giant screw you for screwing me over type thing. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I'm not saying be vindictive, but have fun with that. And in the survey, it did reveal that, or sorry, the article did reveal that up to $2.65 billion a year is lost to the recording industry by that practice, and only about 17% of the businesses in the survey actually. That's ridiculous. And the worst part is 80% of that last 83%, so something like 68% of businesses stream music illegally. And they just don't know it. That's the shocking part. And that's an estimate. I believe up to 80% of the businesses that are pirating don't know that they're pirating. Because, I mean, like, let's say your dad were to open a business, you know, just selling out sneakers.
He probably wouldn't know. He doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, and so he would just stream, and then he'd be shocked whenever he got, you know, a fine on his door saying, hey, you owe, you know, $600 to this company, $800 to this one. Why? You didn't buy the $2 royalties thing. So, it's not that. It's like $12. But anyways, so be careful. Now, into new music premieres. We had a lot of news to
We're running out of time, so we gotta...
It's like last week, rapid fire.
Number one, a new piece called Words on the Street is being premiered at Warwick College in this has music by Matt Marks, is composer and tragically died last year. He left this work unfinished, but it's been filled out of Jefferman Glover, Mary Kuyigen, David T. Little, Mara Sankaram, Caroline Shaw, and Randall Wolf, with a libretto by Anna. This opera is a mystery story that involves characters are personification of 7 dead. So it's like kind of had like the theme kind of has like a Faulkner. Sounds interesting. Check this out. We don't.
Wait, we don't?
Oh no. Next in premieres, the American Composers is has a concert of phenomenal women. They're going to premiere Coleman's based on the along with Alex Marr. Both these pieces will work. The concert will also have hours at a few Carnegie Hall. Actually, I'm.
Why does that compose?
Who?
Coleman.
Valerie Coleman. We've talked about her on.
That's what it is. Yeah,
I believe she's one of the recently by.
Maybe that's what it is.
Was it the Met? Or was it
someone?
No, it was Philadelphia Orchestra.
Yeah.
It was either the Philadelphia Orchestra or
probably the Philadelphia Orchestra. That was more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 4 at issue project.
The concert's just called 4.
I love that. I want to make a concert named The now. Fact, next semester. So featuring premiere of Wadada Leo Smith's Red Autumn Gold, performed by Nate Woolley, and American premiere of Catherine Lamb's Prisma Interius 8, performed by the Wet Ink Ensemble. Also, Anya Lockwood's Immersion, performed by Dominic Donato and Frank Casara. That thing, actually.
I'll tell you Wadada Leo Smith, I'm not that familiar with his music. I do know he's a trumpeter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the pieces, I couldn't find a lot of information. I think the pieces for solo.
Dada has done a lot of stuff that is solo trumpet or accompanied trumpet, so would not surprise me. It's kind of like certain composers we know they have their so I would not be shocked.
In recording news, we have a new release from the Brooklyn Chorus called Silent of this also features National Ensemble and Jeff Beal, Mary Kuyigen again, Ellis Ludwig Leon, Paul Miller, whose stage alias is DJ Spooky, which is
I've seen him around before.
Nico Muley, Sharonova, Toshi Regan, Kamala Sankaram again, and Caroline Shaw again. These all of these pieces are settings of text that come from interviews and personal statements, historical documents, all of which deal with quality, and it's new and records.
Really quick, I want to take a slight detour for about 30 seconds, but do you want to tell people, just speaking of gender and identity and all that, identity and inequality rather, do you want to tell them what we both applied to last week?
Oh, well, I mean, it's indirectly related. There's a conference at the University of Pittsburgh called the Music and Erotics Conference. So they did ask for pieces that involved social issues and that kind of thing. So it is something people submitted. So we'll see which one of us, or perhaps both of us, or none of us get it.
Apparently, he's going to be really mad if I get it.
And just because, like, I told you about it and then you did something at the last minute. But
I think it's a clever. I won't go through the piece, but it's a clever idea.
It is a clever idea.
Yeah. And it's something I've thought about before, not with that subject matter, but I've thought about the architecture of that piece before. So I think it's really fun.
I hope we both get in. We can go to Pittsburgh. Woohoo!
Ashley will want to go just so that she can see her Steelers.
We could all go to Pittsburgh. Everybody goes to Pittsburgh.
Just take the school music. Or take
And with the time we have left, we have to keep talking about these recordings.
The hell was that?
I don't know why.
Unraveling Beethoven with Nicholas Dudueno and
Violin.
Mimi Solomon.
Piano.
Music for violin and piano, go figure, inspired by Beethoven's violin sonatas.
Actually, similar to the Inspired by Bach album.
Yeah, and honestly, I think there's a real market for that.
And I think there's a theme. They both come from New Focus. I think they're just trying to do with these
yeah,
pieces
I would
inspired
like to
by-
see a Hindemith.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like Hindemith is really hard to imitate. It'd be really fun to watch people struggle.
But
So available from New Focus Recordings.
And
Morton.
it has pieces by
Oh,
David
yeah,
Kirkland
sorry.
Garner and Alan Anderson, Robert Holmstein, Tony Yako, and
Yes. All right. So
Yes.
now we'll move on. Morton Loritzen, Light Eternal, choral works performed by the Chamber Choir of Europe, available from Deutsche Grammophon at.
I couldn't find. But you can get this at Oxos. There's a bunch of distributors.
I literally just like talked off a cliff there. See how easy that was?
Yep. And finally, we have a new album called Whose Dialogue, music by Black Composer and piano, Hegel, and it has pieces by Light, Errol Allen, Billy Childs, Daniel Bernard, Roumain, and as well as a smattering of works by 20th century composers. There's a William Grant Still piece on Ellington piece on there. And this comes from Chicago label Steel Records. So check it out. So yeah, that's new music for this week. And I believe that
You got
is
through
all
all that
we
in
have
12
for
minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, 13 minutes.
Mhm.
You got good.
No, sir. All 13. Doctor Who.
Stop. I'm gonna beat Doctor Who. Wow, we had a lot. I didn't realize how much new stuff we had until we got to like the 44-minute mark, and I was just like, oh, and we're still finishing this one. But yeah, like lots of interesting news. Out of curiosity, what would you think about? Because we seem to be getting more and more news as we start, digging in different places and all that. And we also have more and more new music premieres as we start looking more and more into that. I wonder if we should have like 2 separate segments.
Maybe.
I have an idea on that.
I don't know. Now you're hearing us discuss the show. So we should probably talk about. Although who cares if hey, we're all right. Let's start for the 30 minutes extra of the show.
No.
Well, actually, now while we're here, if you're watching and you have an opinion, if you'd rather have 2 segments,
I think there's a market for that.
then shoot us an email.
Actually,
or
I do
whatever.
have 2 ideas about that. We'll talk about that here in
Yeah.
a bit. But anyways,
Let us know what you think.
yeah, I've got to finish doing some prep work for the Halloween concert, which includes my awesome patch. I've been working on that patch for a long
And-
time.
Yep. So, see you next week. Send us your hate mail and
tune
have
in
a fun Halloween.
And tune in on my live stream site for a 7 p.m. spooky improv. It'll be great. Peace.